Welcome back to Great Day. Would you knowingly powder your baby's bum with toxins or let your young daughter use nail polish that could delay her development? We're exposed to harmful toxins every day without even knowing it, and kids can be even more sensitive. Here to help us clean up our act, please welcome the author of Talking Toxicology, Dr. Noreen Mayberry.
Hi. Thank you for having me back, Deborah.
You're welcome. You always have good stuff. Okay, when it comes to marketing, whenever we see something that says for babies or young kids and stuff, we think that it's probably the purest thing available, but oftentimes there are toxins in these things.
Yes, and that's what's so unfortunate. And you know, we all have that ideal of what that baby smell is because we grew up, you know, using certain brands of lotions and powders, and we're used to that smell, and we think it's so natural for a baby to smell like that baby scent. Well, that baby scent can actually be very harmful.
Yeah.
Because in those first few months, especially that first year of life, you've got a lot of brain development going on, and there are a lot of man-made chemicals that are in these products. You know, I can talk about parabens and phthalates. Those are softeners, but they cause behavioral changes. They have a cancer risk. And so with toxicology, it's the dose that makes the poison. It's, if you use it once, it's probably not going to hurt you. But if you're continually using this on your baby and you're giving them a higher dosage, along with everything else they're exposed to in the environment, then you can have these problems.
Yeah, and then, of course, the problem is we might not recognize it as being linked to those products. The other thing is the smaller the body, generally, the quicker they can react. They don't have what it takes to balance all of that.
They don't, and it's a greater dosage. It's a much greater dosage on a much smaller body. Their organs are not fully formed. They don't have their digestive system that can handle all of the amount of chemicals that we unintentionally expose them to, because parents would never do this on purpose.
Yes. Okay, parabens and phthalates.
Yes.
What do we find those things in?
So we find parabens and phthalates in almost everything. Soaps, toothpaste. So when you're washing your baby, that soap that you're using could have parabens and phthalates in it.
Yeah, but it says it's for sensitive baby skin.
Well, yeah, and there have been a lot of questions about, you know, what you know, are these things really sensitive for these baby skin? You know, there are
some of the shampoos are basically detergents. I mean, wash your dishes with it.
They are. They're definitely. I mean, you can use the same. What you're finding in your detergents, you're finding also in your body washes and soaps. It's the same chemicals. You know, they dilute them at different amounts, but the fact is, you know, these things are very strong, and you're looking at the load, because the dose always makes the poison. Yeah. So toothpaste, body washes, that can lead to asthma. It can lead to obesity down the road, because the baby's bodies are creating more fat to, you know, basically store these chemicals. So this also is a problem, you know, throughout life. But in those first few years, you're really worried about those neurological effects, because it can cause neurological changes as well.
Then testicular changes in young boys. We're seeing, in fact, you know, young girls and young boys, just with the amount of hormones they're exposed to, we're seeing them go through changes that they never have before.
They never have before. You've got a lot of fertility issues down the road. You know, you think back to when plastics really hit our market in a big way, and how we used plastics for everything. And these chemicals, they're not stable within the plastics. They do migrate, they do off-gas, just like in the new car smell, and you've got this greater exposure. So again, you know, going on down the road, then you have issues with, you know, possibly reproduction, because you've got those hormonal changes. Yeah. And so it's a problem for boys and girls, men and women.
Okay, coal and tar. Coal tars.
Coal tar. This is a colorant, and it's used in a lot of the darker products. It's also a softener. So coal tar, that's an issue because, you know, you find that in your lotion as a skin softener. And that's, you know, really a problem, because coal tar in greater amounts can be a carcinogen. So if you're using this coal tar on a routine basis in your lotion over a lifetime, over many years, and you think you're doing the right thing for your child's skin, you know, eventually you could be exposing them to something that could lead to cancer 10, 20 years.
Is this the same thing that we find like in coal or tar that we see on the streets type of tar?
Yes, but at a much lower level.
Yeah.
A much lower level.
All right, fragrances. That's where we get into trouble too, because if it smells nice, we want it.
And everybody loves it. Kids love fragrances. Moms and dads love fragrances.
Oh,
that's good.
Stuff,
is that natural?
That is naturally me. I just smell like that. I just smell like a Fendi perfume. I just somehow.
So natural fragrances are wonderful. If you're using naturally derived fragrances, it's wonderful.
Vanilla, things like that.
Certainly.
Lavender.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at something as far as an ingredient and all it says is fragrance, that can be one of over 4,000 man-made chemicals, some of which can be cancer-causing.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with using unnatural fragrances. Right. So it's always best to use fragrance-free, especially for the babies.
And you know, when you're looking at actually spraying perfumes and stuff, that's why so of those things cost as much as they do. They really do use the natural things, and they don't have all those other chemicals in there.
Yes, you definitely should pay more for your perfumes.
All right, triclosan, what is that?
Triclosan is an ingredient that you find in all of the antibacterials. The antibacterial soaps, the hand sanitizers, not all hand sanitizers, but so you have to be vigilant, because those things are, you know, they can lead to not only an increased resistance to bacteria, so when you do get sick later on down the line, you're going to have to take more and more antibiotics, and they're going to have to be stronger. But the other
because there is some advantage to the body being exposed to some bacteria, so
yes,
that knows how to build up the immune system, right?
You need a good immune system, but if you have been sensitized to it and you've got these high levels of triclosan in your body, you can have increased sensitivity, meaning you can get much sicker later on down the line.
Okay.
Another issue with that is that, you know, you've got the hormonal disruption again, and there have been studies showing, you know, lowered amounts of testosterone. Okay, and there's also a cancer risk with triclosan.
Okay.
So it's a big deal, and so you want to look at that. You know, there's a lot of kids products that come from overseas, the antibacterials, and they are marketed for kids, but they've got that triclosan.
Butyl acetate?
Butyl acetate. Now, we're talking about the girl's favorite thing in the world, nail polish.
Right.
Okay, so when you talk about nail polish, you know, it's hard to get kids these days not to put on nail polish. When I was younger, my mother did not allow it, but now you've got these little mini salons. I know I've had to take my daughter there as well. You know, we had a birthday party there. There's nail polish there. Every once in a while is okay. However, if you're taking them routinely and you're exposing them to this butyl acetate, you've got long-term exposures to central nervous system depressants, okay? A high chronic exposure or a high short-term acute exposure, excuse me, can cause dizziness. But, you know, if you're repeatedly exposing them, and a lot of times these places aren't as well ventilated as they should be, you've got those neurological changes.
Yeah, toes and nails. Okay, fingernails. Okay,
that's right.
I'm going to end with the flame retardant resistant PBDE, because we see it's doing something good, but at what cost?
Yeah, so flame retardants and flame, these flame retardant chemicals like your chlorinated and your brominated chemicals, the problem with them is that they migrate, and they're in everything. They are in clothing, they are in these little pillows, they're in the bumpers, they're in the sheets, the car seats, the strollers, and they're required to be in there. But the problem with them that we're having with them is that they cause so many different issues. They have a cancer risk, they cause hormonal disruption, they also have a lot of neurological risks as well. So it is so often that you see BPA. You have to avoid BPA in your kids' plastic containers in lunch and in these different products.
It's interesting because we're hearing much more about and seeing, you know, thyroid hormone imbalances, and, you know, the estrogen, progesterone, all those imbalances, testosterone, as you mentioned, and we're like, where is it all coming from? This could be all a part of that. Hey, Dr. Noreen has a special offer for Great Day viewers. You can get 10% off your order on her website. Just use the code 10OFF, and 10OFF is?
It is 10% off of all products, and you have to put it in all capital letters. And I also want to introduce my new book, Juice Feasting. You know, introducing, you know, raw juicing into your kids' diet once or twice a day helps increase that vegetable intake and also the micronutrient intake to help their bodies, you know, fight against
all
these
this stuff.
toxic
chemicals. And here's the thing, when you make your own juice, you know exactly what's in it.
Yes, you do.
And oftentimes you can have things that say made with real juice. Well, it had a squirt of orange juice. We had a squirt of orange juice in it, made with real juice.
And cups of sugar.
All right, we have a link on our website, greatdayhouston.com, plus a full list of tips from our Tox Doc, Dr. Noreen Mayberry.
Thank you so
very much.
All right.
Well, from PMS to menopause, let's face it, ladies, life can feel like a roller coaster ride. But if that ride gets too bumpy, it could mean your body is off track. How to find a real solution to your problem and get those hormones that we talked about balanced.